Hi, this is Todd Geist with Geist Interactive, and today I want to talk a little bit about unit testing, and especially in relationship to collaborative projects like modularFileMaker.org, and specifically we're going to look at HyperList again. It's one that's been really worked on by lots of people. So first of all, unit test is nothing scary. It just basically means that it's a test that's just designed to test a certain condition, and that's it. And really, in FileMaker, a unit test is almost always a script, and that script is simply going to expose the bug in a way that makes it very, very easy for the developer to find the bug and see it. Not always used for bug testing, maybe just for also proving that a function or a script works as expected. It's kind of the same kind of thing. But in this case, I want to talk about a bug report that was made about HyperList and how I went about using unit tests to find that bug and fix it. So let's start off with just talking about the bug a little bit. So Tim Anderson reported a great bug yesterday on HyperList. And what he said was that he noticed that the 44th result in every 100 records, so 44, 144, 244, 944, 10,044, etc., always had the wrong value for the second field in the field set. So if you're using HyperList to gather fields, up to 5 fields now with HyperList 2. So if you're gathering more than one, the second field was always wrong on that 44th record, which is a pretty interesting bug. So it's a great bug. Thanks a lot, Tim, for finding that and reporting it. So let me show you how I went about fixing it and talk a little bit more about how we might be able to use this in the future on projects like Modular FileMaker. So the first thing I did is I created a very simple example test, and we're going to run that test right here, and it's just going to show me that it failed. It gives me a dialog that says the expected value was this value here, and the actual value was this one here. There's a lot of garbage data in these files, so that's why the data looks kind of funny looking. But so that's it, and that's all it does. Now, so I wrote this script. It's not too tough. We'll look at it here really quickly. Basically, you set up the condition at the top of the script where I put in the found set that I want to test, how many records, which of the 144 or 244, which one of those I want to test, and then the fields, a list of fields I want to pass in. And the reason I want to do that at the top is because I want to make it very easy to change those conditions so that I can try out different conditions. And then I write a script which basically just calls HyperList, generates the data set, and then tests to see is the 144th record, second field, right or wrong. And that's it here. It's not complicated. It's just using basic FileMaker stuff. And at the bottom of the script, I simply check to see is the value what we expected, and if it's not, show the dialog. And so we get, when we run that script, we get that. So what I'd like to recommend is that if you're working with modules from Modular FileMaker and you've discovered a bug in a module that you didn't write, it would be really great if you could submit that report to the developer in the comments like Tim did here, but also submit a simple test in the file that shows the bug. That just makes it really easy for the developer to go in there and find it quickly. So the next thing I did was I expanded that test, and basically all I did was abstract it so that I could pass in multiple different input values and get different results. So I could test more than one found set. I could test more than one record number, 144, 944, whatever, the number of fields. So I made it just a simple test that I could call over and over again, and that would pass or fail each of those values, each of those iterations. Then I wrote one script which runs them all. So basically I'm setting up initial conditions, and then I'm running the script over and over again to test different conditions to see if our bug is still there in, say, found sets of 1,000 or found sets of 100, etc., etc. And then I can run that test, and that will also give me a failed. And in this case, it tells me which one's failing. Found set of 200, so I'm testing 200 records. The record number was 144, and the field count was 2. So I passed in 2 fields. I tested a found set of 200, and it failed. Now, I've got this thing failing and stopping after the first time it fails, so it doesn't continue on after that. And that's just the easiest way to do it. So now it's easy. I can try to fix the code. I can run my test and see if everything works, then I should get a success dialog instead of a failed dialog. All right, so let's take a look at the script itself. So that's down here. And important to note, I wrote the script before I started testing and looking. I wrote the test scripts before I started looking at the HyperList script here, because I won't know that I fixed the bug until I have a suite of tests that I can run on it to make sure that I fixed it without breaking something else. So, and I already know where the bugs are, but I'm going to walk through the places that I found it. So the first place I checked was here. And this is a big, long get field calculation, and this was where I kind of went to first, because the way he was so specific in their bug report about it's only this value that's actually showing the, it's only this particular a record that's showing the value. So I suspected it might be in this calculation here. So I looked down, and looking here, I noticed that there's two 42s in a row. So normally these are going 41, you know, they're going 38, 39, 40, 41, and then it goes 42 twice. Huh, that's interesting. Well, it's not 44, so but that still looks pretty good. Now, then I remembered that the rep is the key thing. So this is going to be essentially 1 plus 42 or 43. So that turns out to be it. So this is the problem. We change that to 43, and now it's going to get the correct value. So, but to be sure, I can run my test. Oh, it failed still. Now, the first test passed. So when it was testing only 200 records, it worked, but not when it was testing 500 records. So we didn't find all the bugs. So let's go back and look at the script. And well, that's because there is another calculation which is almost the same up here, but not quite exactly the same. It's a little bit different. So we're likely to find the exact same bug here, and sure enough, there it is. 43 is missing. So we change that. Now I go back here, and I run my tests, and now I get all tests pass. So that's great. So now I'm pretty sure that I found the bug. Now, notice what I've done here with the HyperList testing folder is I've created a folder for unit tests. And again, a unit test in FileMaker is probably just a script. So it's a programming term that people use when they're talking about Java or JavaScript or PHP or all this stuff. But really, it's just a FileMaker script. It's going to run a script. It's going to test to see if it gets the expected results. And if it doesn't, it just throws a flag. That's all a unit test is. It's just testing a very small single unit problem. In this case, what we were testing is the existence of this 144 bug. So, so I got that in here, and I just put a new folder in for 144 bug, and now I've got the ability to run that script whenever I tweak the HyperList code and see to make sure that I haven't reproduced the bug. And I've got another unit test here that I had before, which basically just determines, is this working? Are we getting the right number of records in the data set that we get back? So now, before I ship a new version of HyperList, I can run each of these unit tests to make sure I didn't cause a regression or cause something to break. So this one is going to test. That's the first one that tests just to make sure we're getting the right number of records back, and that one worked. That's great. And now I can run my other one, and we know this is going to work. But this turns out to be a great test because I could break HyperList in a lot of ways that would cause this test to fail. So now this code is in the file, which we're going to ship with the new version of HyperList. And so people who are working on HyperList and want to try to fix it, they find another bug, or they find a way they think can improve performance, they can always run these tests to make sure that they haven't broken HyperList as part of that work that they're doing on it. So that's a way to use unit testing in a collaborative project like this where we're sharing code and different developers are working on it. We can make it really easy to let users and developers test to make sure that they've got the actual bug that's been reported and to make sure if it's actually been fixed. So that's it. That's all we have for today. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.